So yesterday we talked about timing and spacing. That is again one of the principles of animation. Okay, and throughout these demo classes, we'll be covering all of them. Okay, so today we will look up the squash and stretch. Okay, so I will talk about it, but first let's do pretty basic. Let's see how to actually import a rig. So when people are learning animation or basically anything 3D, they always like import things. Importing means bringing a file into your uh, current scene. Okay, so if I click on import, I have to type the location. This is my file. Sometimes, like when you open it, your file might not be visible, probably because the type of file from here is different. So you go down here and you click on Maya scenes, and now like you will be able to see the file. So I'll click on that and I'll click on import, and now you can see we have the ball. So this is one way of working in Maya, but this is not a good method. Especially in studios, we don't use this method because there is no room for error when you're working in a studio. Now, how does error comes up? The thing is that rigs are very complex. Okay, they are not as simple as modeling something. Lots of connections and nodes go into it, and those connections can get broken while you're animating. Okay, you could accidentally maybe select a particular controller, and maybe you have something selected here, and you could accidentally delete that. And if you delete it and you don't notice it, then your whole work goes to trash because you cannot go back. Okay, so this is not a good method for animation. The method that we use is referencing. Okay, so we go to file. I'll talk about what a reference is. Okay, actually, let me show you what actually is reference and then we'll import. Okay, this is something that I cover in the 3D modeling course, but I'll just show it here just in case you guys don't know. So I'll just take an object and I will create a layer. So I'm here in the layer box and I'll click on this. So I have created a layer with my object inside of it. Okay, if I press on V, I can hide and unhide this object. All right. So sometimes we want a particular object in the scene, but we don't want to accidentally select that. Because when we're working in Maya, like if you don't have that ability, let's say you just want a particular object in the scene, you could accidentally keep on selecting it. So this is very annoying. So we want the ability to make it deselectable, like unselectable, but it should still be visible. Okay, if you want that kind of ability, it's very easy to do. You just create a layer and you see this little box here. So basically, a ball bounce takes about, well, less than 1 second. At times, sometimes it takes 1 second. It depends on what height it is falling from. Okay, but we will take 30 frames. So this is a little bit more than 1 second because the ball will fall from this height. It will come down and then it will bounce back. So we have enough time to display that. Okay, so let's start keying the animation. So first of all, I want the ball to be a little bit higher, obviously. So maybe around here. Now, when you're animating, don't take it at that height, obviously. Be reasonable. So I'm putting it around here. Okay. And because I've put it here, I need to lock this location. If I don't do that, then obviously animation won't happen. So how do we lock it? We press S. Locking means keying the animation. So when I say lock, it means the same thing. Okay. So I will press S and you can see everything is red now. So this location has been saved. This pose has been saved. All right. So now we'll go about halfway this animation, this time frame, and we'll bring it down. So I will type 0 here. Now, if you want, you can actually move it manually, but sometimes this can be problematic because you won't be perfectly placing it on the ground. We already know that the perfect position of the ground was already set when we initially started. So instead of moving it manually, I'll just go over here and type 0 in translate Y. So now you can see it is coming down from this position to this position. All right. So now the ball is just falling. Okay. And I want it to bounce back. So basically, I'm trying to create a cycle. Okay, because if the first frame and the last frame is same, it turns into a seamless loop. So if you keep playing it, it will look like the ball is constantly bouncing. So that's what I want to do. So yesterday someone asked about copying and pasting keys. So we will do just that. I will go to the 0 frame. Okay, and I will right click and I will copy this. So the keyframe has been copied. Now I'll go to the last frame. I will right click again and I will paste it. And now you can see the ball is now at the same position as it was on the 0 frame. Okay, you can see it's exactly the same, only in between it is different. So if I hit play right now, we are seeing a movement, but it's obviously extremely unnatural and bad because we cannot understand what is happening with the ball. We cannot understand the weight of the ball because there's no proper acceleration or deceleration happening. You can see in the beginning the ball is slow, then it maintains the speed, then it slows down again, it is slow again, then it increases, then again it's slow. This is not how it should be. When the ball is closer to the ground, its speed should increase. Right? So right now that's not happening. The speed is actually decreasing over here. So that's why it's looking completely unnatural. So we have to fix this. And how do we do that? We do it through curves. And I've already broken down how many types of curves there are. So it's just simple. We can simply break down the tangents and adjust the curve according to what we want. So we know that in the beginning, when the ball is free falling, it is supposed to be slow. All right. But over here, it needs to be fast. So we will do just that. I will click on translate Y here so you can see the curve is visible. Yesterday, we only created 2 keys. So we were only seeing this kind of curve. Now we have created 3 keys. So now we have this type of a curve visible. No need to get intimidated by this. Always look at curves in between the keys. Like just break it down like this. You just look at this half and this half. It will not look intimidating. Many people don't work with curves. They just simply work with the keys, and they are then always scared of the graph editor. So that's why initially only I am forcing everyone to work with curves, because if you don't do that, you will have a lot of trouble animating. Curves is something that you should definitely use. Okay. So anyway, if you look at this half, you can see it is the easy ease curve. It is flat here, constant in between, that means steep, and then towards the end it is flat again. Same thing goes for this half. Now we want to be able to edit this. Right now, if I do it, you can see I get a seesaw. I obviously don't want that. So I will take this and I will break the tangent. Getting some weird issues today. All right. Okay. So like if I do it manually here, what will happen? Like I will first pull this down, maybe to this height. Now you can see I have changed the value. Previously it was around 16. When I brought it down, this value obviously changed. So there are multiple ways of replicating this to the last frame. So the way, one of the most common ways is to copy this keyframe, come over here, delete this one, and then hit paste. So that is one way of doing it. Another way of doing it is copying this value from the channel box itself, Control C and Control V in the last frame. Another another way of doing it is through the graph editor. I'll just go here. I will select these 2 keys, press Shift middle mouse button and drag it down. So you can see both of them came down together. I don't have to copy and paste anything. Now this really works for us because our first and last frame is same. Okay, so I brought it down really low. You can see the curve became extreme because of what we did. Now I want to make it go back to the default shape, and the way we can do it is by coming over here, clicking on auto tangents. Okay, so you do that, you get back to the original shape, the easy ease curve shape. Okay, so again you can see there is no weight whatsoever visible, no squash and stretch, nothing. It looks very bad, obviously. So we have reduced the height. All right. So let's first talk about squash and stretch, then we'll adjust the curve and everything. So we'll be using these controllers, which we haven't used yet. So when it is on the ground, we want to squash it, okay? Because of the pull of gravity. It is coming down so fast, it smashes on the ground, okay? So we will be squashing it. And when we do that, you can see it expands. So it is preserving the volume of the ball. So many people, when they're animating something like this, they flatten it completely like this. I personally don't like this kind of a loose animation. Many people do that. I'm going to keep it like this. If you want, you can definitely experiment it like this. Not a problem. So anyway, I'm squashing it here. Now, if I don't put a key, you can see it's an oval coming up and down. So we obviously don't want that. We want to key this, and we want to make sure that in other frames, it remains round. It should look like a ball. So on this 15th frame, when the ball is on the ground, I will press S. So I have logged this over here. Okay, everything is fine. Now after this, for now, I will just bring it back to the default position. It is not stretched, but I just made it to the default shape. So what is happening now? It is squashing, then it is bouncing back to its original shape. Now this is not physically accurate. Why? Because if something squashes so hard, it stretches after the squash, okay? It will not just bounce back to its original shape like this, it will actually stretch. So for now I have done it like this, but we will definitely change it. So I will key this position and this position as well. So you can see we have proper keys everywhere. Till now we have only squashed the ball. Alright, so this is done. Now we can go on to change our curves. Because right now you can see it is floaty. You know, we call this kind of animation floaty. Why floaty? Because the ball is literally floating. We are not able to tell what the weight of this ball is. It looks very unreal. Okay, so we'll do the same thing we did earlier. I will break the tangents. Well, they're already broken because I used the same animation almost. But still, just to make sure, click on break, and then we increase the speed here. Okay, so now it is a little bit faster near the ground, but it should be slower at the top. So again, I'll repeat the same thing, stretch it out. And I want it to be even faster. So I created this kind of a shape, the V shape. Now you can see it looks much better. Okay, now let's come back to this. We are having this squash, but there's no stretch. Now there are a couple of ways of making the ball really cartoony. Right now, I will just do a simple stretch. Sorry, yeah, simple stretch. Squash we've already done. Actually, we'll go back here and we'll set it to default for now because we have to lock these positions. Why? If I don't do that, if I undo it again, by the way, to undo, you have to press Ctrl plus Z. So I pressed undo and I'm back to what we did earlier. Now you can see the ball is, before it touches the ground, it is a little bit away from the ground. So this is not very ideal for us because we want to show a stretch. You can still use this lower controller to show the stretch, but the ball should be closer to the ground for it. Okay, in order for the squash and stretch to really be felt in the movement. Okay, so this is why what I'll do is I'll change it back to default. I will copy this frame. Okay, and I'll paste it here and I'll paste it here. So now I have same frame for 14, 15, 16. 15 is where our original impact happened. We know this because we've already squashed the ball as well. Now at 14 and 16, we want it to stretch. So let's do that. Let's stretch it out. So now you can see it stretches, it squashes, then it should stretch again. So you can see what is happening. It is stretched, it is squashed, it is stretched again. So initially it is stretched because of the pull of the gravity. Okay, it is really strong. So because the ball is really soft, its atoms are not bonded really close together. This is why it's really loose and it deforms like this. Then it squashes. It has all of this energy which gets built up at the impact, and therefore the upper position has a lot of energy and it literally pulls through, and this is why again the ball stretches out. Okay, I will show this in more clarity. Let me quickly change the shape of our curve. I will break the tangents. Now you can see we have 3 keys at the bottom, but we still want to do the same thing that we did before. So I'll just quickly do that since we've already covered it many times. I won't spend time explaining this. All right, so now something like this is happening. Obviously the ball is remaining stretched. We don't want that. We'll fix this, but let me show you. I will make a cube and I will put it in a layer and I'll set it to template mode. This shows us where the gravity is affecting the ball the most. Okay, this is just a visual representation. You don't have to do this. Okay, I'm just showing you that gravity starts to affect the bodies when they're like really close to the surface. So let's say this is the area which is affected by the gravity. So before the ball reaches this line, it should have its original shape. Okay, that means over here the ball should be round. So I will type 0 over here. So you can see till here the ball is round, and then as soon as it enters this cube, it starts to stretch out. Then it squashes, it stretches again. Then it is coming out of that area which is affected by the gravity. So over here it should again be completely rounded. So what is happening? Till here the ball is not affected by gravity as intensely. It is still affected, obviously, that is why the ball is actually coming down. But it is mostly affected in that particular area. So when it comes down here, it gets stretched, squashed, stretched again, and then goes back up. Is it clear, everyone? If there's any confusion, please tell me because I am covering the actual reasons behind these things. Okay, all right, good. So now if I hit play, you can see that bouncy effect. Okay. And if we turn on the motion blur, it's like this. So we created a squishy ball bounce. All right. So everything is clear till here, right? Let me know if there's any confusion regarding this. Okay. Yes, Akshay, we will keep the value of stretch at 0 because we don't want any stretch to happen before the fall. Yes, Pandan, I talked about auto keyframe yesterday. You can watch the recording again, but basically this is the option for auto keyframe toggle. The problem with this is that it will only key what you're moving. So let's say if you want keys on rotation, it will not apply it. So you have to create a habit of pressing S as well. Okay. All right. So let me show you how to create a preview or a play blast. So everyone will be practicing this soft ball animation and the rigid ball animation. And I want everyone to show me when they're doing this. So to show it to me, you have to create a preview out of it. If you want, you can definitely hit play, record with your camera and share it to me. That's completely fine. But let's say you want to have a proper video, you can do that without actually rendering anything. So let me show you. I will expand this a little bit more and I will change the viewport color. So we can change the viewport color by pressing Alt plus B. So if I press Alt and B, you can see the viewport is white. If I press it again, it has this gradient. If I press it again, it is now black. So for now, I want the viewport to be black. Okay. So we can do viewport lighting with the basic lights that we have in Maya. We can obviously use our Arnold lights and V-Ray lights, but I will be using the extreme basic ones. So just go to create, okay, go to lights and take a spotlight. When you do that, you get something like this. It looks a little bit weird. No problem. Pull it out. Rotate it like this. The cone should be angled like this. Now nothing is visible yet. It will become visible once we click on use all lights option. You can see this light bulb. Click on that and you can see the light is affecting it. Of course, it's not like a render, but it actually gives us pretty good previews. All right. So how to control this? Go to the attribute editor. You can increase the intensity if you want, but this intensity is fine for me. I want this to be a little bit more white. So I can do that by increasing the cone angle. We have this penumbra which smooths out the edges. And we have this drop off, which like basically if you want it to affect a smaller area, you can do that with this. And it will give you softer edges. All right. So right now the light is above, so it is only shining up this part. I'm going to take it here and I'm going to rotate it like this. And then I'll duplicate this. How do I duplicate? I press Ctrl plus D to duplicate, move it to this side and rotate it again. And this light should act like a fill light. So I want to reduce the intensity of it. So I will reduce the intensity. So I see a bit of the shadow. If I keep the intensity high, I don't see much shadows on the side. So I want to keep it less intense. Okay. Now, if I play it, you can see you get a much better look of your ball. And you can like turn on motion blur as well. So it looks pretty good. It's good for people who are only doing animation and don't know much about rendering. You can just do viewport lighting and have better play blasts or previews for your showreel. Okay. Now how to actually make a video out of it? You go down in the time slider, right click here. We have play blast. So basically a preview is known as a play blast in Maya. You go to this square box. I will reset the settings. So the ones who are using the play blast for the first time, this is how it would look. So you have to go to quality, increase it up to 100. Go to scale, increase it up to 1. The maximum amount should be hit. Now we have display size. So from here you can choose the resolution. So I will click on custom and I will type 1920 1080, the HD format. Okay. And if you don't give it a directory, it will save in the default location, which is in the C drive. Okay. So if you want to save it somewhere, you can click on save to file, click on browse. I will just save it on desktop. Hit save and apply. So you can see our preview got created. Okay. So now this preview